Steve King of Iowa is the ranking member on immigration and a valuable member of the Constitution Committee as well.
I thank the gentleman, Chairman, and I'd like to start out by agreeing with the gentleman from Massachusetts. He said this is not a democracy. I couldn't agree more, and I pray it never will be, that it remains a constitutional republic where we actually have a chance to move this society forward with a representative form of government. Mr. McClellan, there were impeachment hearings in this very room back in 1998, and although I wasn't a member of this committee, I spent some days here witnessing that. I remember around that period of time, Charlton Heston made a statement, and his statement was to President Clinton, and he said, "Mr. President, when you say something that's wrong and you don't know that it's wrong, that's called a mistake. But if you say something that's wrong and you know that it's wrong, that's a lie." He drew the distinction, and I think it's important for us to look at this, and you've made a reference to the 15 words in the President's State of the Union address, and I believe you're referring to his January 28, 2003 address, which I happen to have the copy I had in my hand when he gave that address, and I'll read these words to you, and I think these are the ones you referred to. The President speaking in that State of the Union address, quote, "The British government has learned that Saddam Hussein recently sought significant quantities of uranium from Africa," close quote. That's the reference, I believe.
Right.
Do you believe that that was a mistake or a lie when the President said it?
Well, I actually talk about it in the book at length, and I think the President thought it was credible to be saying that at the time, that it had some substantiation. I don't know what every individual knew about that or was passing along. I think some questions remain there.
Let me submit that I don't believe it was either a mistake or a lie. I believe that the language in here sustains itself as the accurate and factual truth even today. We did learn from the British.
Well, but our CIA disagrees with that at this point.
I have in my hand a CIA report. This is a debriefing report from Ambassador Joseph Wilson within 2 hours of the time that he arrived back home after his 2 weeks in Niger. He's been before this committee. I didn't have this report in my hand on that day. I wish I had. It's dated, though, the debriefing date, 8 March 2002. Are you familiar with this report?
I'm not. I may have seen it before. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, just for your edification, for that of the committee, let me just read from this report, debriefing on the return, and I'm going to submit that this report directly contradicts Joseph C. Wilson, 180 degrees, where he testified in his report to the CIA. He references former Prime Minister Ibrahim Mayaki. He says, however, Mayaki did relate that in June of 1999, a Nigerian-Algerian businessman approached him and insisted that Mayaki meet with an Iraqi delegation to discuss expanding commercial relations, and that's in quotes, between Niger and Iraq. Although the meeting took place, Mayaki let the matter drop due to the United Nations sanctions against Iraq and the fact that Mayaki opposed doing business with Iraq. Mayaki, the former prime minister, said that he interpreted the phrase expanding commercial relations to mean that Iraq wanted to discuss uranium yellow keg sales. Mayaki said he understood the rogue states would like to exploit Niger's resources, specifically uranium, but he believed the Nigerian government's regard for the United States as a close ally would prevent sales to these states from taking place despite Niger's economic woes. Now, this is verbatim from the CIA report that was secret and now been released, redacted, and I'd ask unanimous consent to introduce this into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Without objection.
And I recognize that it catches you a little bit unaware. I trust you have not seen this report nor the language in it.
Not recently. If I've seen it, I don't know if I've seen it before. I'd have to look at it. But certainly in October of 7th, 2002, for the speech the President gave in Cincinnati, the CIA director had said, take this information out that relates to Niger. Steve Hadley recounted that in conversations I was participating in at the White House later when the 16 words became, well,
Mr. McClellan, watch the clock, and I'm sorry, but as recognizing there was a backpedaling on the part of the White House, I'm going to submit that the State of the Union address remains factual today. They did learn from the British. Whether it turned out to be upheld in later statements or not, they did learn from the British. This statement of Joseph C. Wilson's contradicts his 4 years of calling President Bush a liar. And I would submit also that, let me pose this question. If you had to choose, if your life depended upon it, and you had to choose between putting your trust in Ambassador Joseph Wilson's veracity or that of the President of the United States, where would you put your life?
I don't know that I'd jump into that hypothetical kind of question.
Okay, and I'm going to take that as an answer to that question. I'll pose another one then. And what is your advice to your successor secretaries, White House press secretaries, as to how they should handle themselves and how a president might want to handle them. There's two parts to this question. What would you say to the succeeding secretaries on whether, at what point they should step up and tell the world, in the middle of their job perhaps, and how will the president handle this from this point? Does he have to then put the next press secretary into a cubicle and slide press releases to him under the door for fear that he'll be coming, either write a book or come before the Judiciary Committee
the president would
and divulge information that I believe was at least from a national security, not national security, but from the integrity standpoint? Could you not have taken some of this to the grave with you and done this country a favor?
I think that by speaking up about these issues, that the country can learn much from what went wrong and what we can learn from that. And that's why I wrote this book, because I want to see things change here.
That may well be true, and it'd be a different lesson I take from you, Mr.
McClellan.
Thank you for your testimony, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.